Hello and welcome back to the Write Your Path podcast. My name is Lolly Spindler. I'm a writer, editor, book doula, and writing coach. And today we have my dear friend Anastasia on with us. She is an incredible artist, and I've known her for how many years now? Like 4 or 5 years. And we are both living in Mexico City. This is where we met. And honestly, I think one of my favorite things about Mexico City is how many creative people it has brought into my life, like Anastasia. And her work is so enriching, and she is able to use it in so many ways. She's not just a visual artist, but she's almost an experiential artist. And like the workshops that you lead, and the way you come to your art is very intuitive. And so I very much love what you do. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. So I'm Anastasia Shi. I'm an artist, multidisciplinary artist from Siberia. And I do truly a lot of things, from painting to making objects, to making clothing, to guiding art therapies. I've done a bunch of retreats, everything I can to channel my creative side.
Yeah, which is what I love. I've been to many of Anastasia's workshops, and they've been really incredible because you're able to access art in a way that's really open and expansive, but it's also connecting you with the other people in the room. And I love how you're able to facilitate that between the people who come to your workshops.
Yeah, because I truly believe that we are missing on a playfulness in our life. We're just two adults, like in this, a cycle of making money, paying the bills, fixing the relationships, or like building ones, and all of that is just too serious. And so the moment when you actually just go back to your inner child and you just some playful stuff and just being silly, I feel like it's so important.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like how much time did we spend as children playing and like having those hours set aside for art and for creativity, and now like how far we've come like away from that. It's really nice to like come back to that and be like, oh my God, I used to spend so much of my time doing this. And now people are like completely disconnected from that playfulness, from that creativity, from like creative expression in general.
Yeah, I think in our current society, like everything is on our phone, right? Like we are dating through the apps, we are photoshopping, we are listening to podcasts, so it's like way less presence.
Yeah.
And I think now, and also through my like latest experience showing my art, I have a drawing that is done with a pencil, and it got so much attention. People were coming to me and they were like, oh my God, is this a pencil?
Wow.
So I feel like this, like everything that is done more manually is now coming back. Like we are craving for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And especially I think with the proliferation of AI, I mean, I've seen this in my work. I think it's now more important than ever to kind of come back to our source of creation and into our voices, and to actually be like, okay, yes, like AI is a tool that can help us, but what is our essence? Like, how do we show up when we want to create, whether that's writing, whether that's painting, whatever it may be, but like to find that voice and to find your unique expression, I think is more important now than ever.
Yes, definitely. It always has been important.
Yeah.
But yes, as you said, now more than ever. And I've been trying different mediums for myself to just, go make carpets and go make, now I want to start a new workshop with like woodworking, so I can have this expansion of, working with my hands more and just figuring out, what I can build without the help of my computer, help of, anything, just being present. And I also been doing some ceramics lately too, that it's like, you're working with clay, and so you can't really touch your phone, you can't touch anything, so you're there, you're forced to be there. And you also remember what it is like. It's so easy to just
I think it's really important for us to like go back to analog, especially now. Like even with music, like I prefer like my vinyls, even just to disconnect from my computer or my phone for a little bit and be like, okay, I want to hear the music come from like a physical object, not just from this digital device that I'm connected to 24/7. And the same with like writing with my students. I'm always like, I want you to physically write in a notebook, because then you have that like brain, like physical connection that really can enhance what you're working on. And I'm sure you experience this too.
Yeah, definitely. I also spoke with a friend of mine the other day who's a photographer, and she just, she started printing and use 35 millimeters and, getting more to analog photography. And But the also interesting thing is that it's really expensive.
Oh yeah.
These days. So it's kind of discouraging you, but it's also kind of in another way makes it more special. I think. So it's not like you're printing a bunch of photos, so you're going to be very selective what you're doing.
Yeah, I was actually just with my photographer friend during Art Week, and we were at this incredible exhibit at Museo Jumex here in Mexico City. And we were with like the head of conservation at the museum. She was giving us the tour of this like new exhibit. It was incredible. But one of the things she was talking about is like the materials that artists have to use in order for their works of art to last longer. And so it's really like an investment up front. And my friend who I was with, who's a photographer, was like, oh my God, yeah, you have to like pay so much attention to like the grade of the paper that you're using and the materials that are in it so that like the chemicals won't like degrade the photo over time, and then where you put it. And it's like so many things you have to think of. Yeah.
It's an experience. I feel like we are undervaluing the true experience of touch, of texture, for example. That's like such a big deal. And that's why I've been also going into, yes, of course, it's like maybe the easiest path for me to enter some design works and when I can just, do stuff digitally. Yeah. Because it requires less of, it requires different skill, of course, but it requires less of like, going, looking for paper, thinking about so many details. It's just digital. Yeah. So it's the easy way. And so I've been thinking also how to like make things more like as an experience as every product that I create, and I've been really enjoying that. Yeah. And what you just said like sparked a thought in me. When you're talking about like the easy way, I was at the Andy Warhol Museum last year, and like Andy Warhol and Keith Haring, they were really into like replicating their work it was obviously kind of like a dialogue on capitalism, but also like they wanted to make a shit ton of money. So they were like, what's the easiest way to do that? So they would just like reproduce their works and have like their assistants make like duplicates and all this stuff so that they would have more output. How do you kind of feel about that as an artist? Like, what are your thoughts on output for output's sake in order to make more money versus investing in a piece and knowing that it might only have like one return? Mm-hmm. I think, it's to each his own, and somebody is really interested in, I don't know, like prints and smaller works and reproduced work. And then there is somebody who buys a piece of art for, in the end of the day, you're buying a piece of art, the expensive piece, right? That is going to stay with you probably for the rest of your life. Yeah. And then you can do whatever. And there is a secondary market, and potentially you can also sell. So there's like so many ways of doing it. Mm-hmm. But I think what makes a reproduction also special, because not everyone can afford
That's
a big
true.
piece of art. So you can start collecting something that is a bit more affordable, maybe in the future. So I think as long as it brings people joy and brings this like a fun way of being like, hey, I have this, because usually the reproductions are limited edition. Right, so even if it's one detail is changed, so like for example, if I do prints like lino cuts I've done, I did 5 of each. So this piece of linoleum just doesn't exist anymore, so I can't really reproduce it. So I've done 5, and this is it. Wow. So it's a fun process, and it's also, I feel like, open a lot of doors for lots of collectors, a lot of people who just be like, oh my God, I connect with this, and okay, this is like $70, like I can do that. Yeah. Versus like $4,000, $3,000 art piece that is a different thing. Yeah, it makes it more accessible to more people, which is that's why I think that's where also ceramics come in, because it's also a little bit. That's why I also want to play with, because it's a bit of more like kind of accessible product rather than a piece of art. Yeah, like it can be artistic, it could be a little mini sculpture object, something fun that you can look at, but it's also a different. Yeah, and something that people can like actively use and interact with too. Yeah, I think it's also, I think collecting is really important as well. I think it's something that, because you are building your own collection through your knowledge and through like what connects. So every object of your house have a meaning, right? Yeah. So it's always the easiest way if you, I don't know, go to IKEA and furnish all your place, rather than if you like go to, I don't know, Lagunia, like the vintage market, and you get a piece of old like sofa that has been redone, so that's only you are going to have. So I think it brings a lot of meaning to have these meaningful objects in your house. Yeah, I agree. It's like, what is the space that you want to design for yourself? Like, what is the energy you want to cultivate? Exactly. In your home? Is it a Airbnb, like of energy when everything is printed and, basic? Of course, if that's what makes you happy, of course. But if you have like objects or things or pieces of art or records or whatever that is, you know, when you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this thing connects me to.
Yeah, like a memory or, yeah, that's really true. I love that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Who are you? How did you end up talking with me today in Mexico City?
So I feel like, so I was born in Siberia, my city called Irkutsk. If you ever played Risk, it's on Risk.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
So it's a place where the deepest lake is located. That's called Baikal Lake.
Oh,
That is 2,000 meters deep.
Wow. I did not know this. I love a fun fact.
Yeah, and also Siberia is 77, I think, % of Russia.
Wow.
So it's pretty wild. So I'm coming from the border with Mongolia. So technically I'm Asian.
Wow.
And so it's a very interesting region. It's also origin of shamanism.
Oh, wow. Oh my God, I did not know this either.
Yeah. So there's a, so I feel like I'm coming, like there was some, there was for a while I thought that maybe I was born in a wrong place because I really despise the cold and I, never felt belonging in there. But I feel like that shamanic side of me that exists that like probably led me all the way through me ending up in Mexico. So when I was a kid, I traveled a lot with my parents, and of course since we're in Asia, we went to Thailand, we went to China, we went to Vietnam, like all these places. And I think when I was maybe 11 or 10, we had this trip to Thailand, and I started meeting people, and I was just like, I need to live outside. I need to go outside of my country to experience this. Yeah. And also I was growing up partially in Soviet Union, and I remember all these grumpy senoras who were like, take your clothes at school, or who would like, you come to a hospital, everybody's mean to you. People were just so like bitter somehow, and I was just like, I was always so resentful deep inside, I was always felt so hurt by somebody screaming at me or like being mean to me.
And you're like, what did I do to you? I don't even know you.
Exactly. And then I went to Thailand, and there's all these friendly people and from all over the world, and I'm like, I need to go, man. I need to go.
You're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So when I was 17, so when I finished the high school, I decided that I'm gonna study something that can bring me outside of Russia. And at that time, Mandarin was really, really trendy language. Like the relationship between Russia and China was like super crazy. Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe that would be my starting point. I'm just gonna study Mandarin, and then on the second year of the university, I can just go to they were sending us to some shitholes of China with hundreds of Russians.
Oh my God, I love it.
To go practice Mandarin, and so I thought that would be my first spot. Like I will go, and then when the second year arrived, my dad was like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, you're gonna go to some Chanchun, whatever place, with hundreds of Russians. You guys are gonna party. You're gonna come back with no English, no Mandarin, nothing. It's gonna be like just a party time. So I would really recommend you to go somewhere on your own. So if you want to go to China, like you can look at Beijing option or Shanghai option. And he had a friend at the time who was living in Shanghai. And so when I Googled Shanghai and I saw a picture of it, I was like, that's where I'm going.
Oh my God, I love it.
I fell in love with the place completely. So I took a year off the university and went there for 1 year just to see how I felt. And I loved it so much that in 1 year I came back to my university. I was begging them to give me like a distance learning program so I can stay in China. Wow. And so they give it to me.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I was going back once a year for like 2 months to take lessons and pass my exams, and they cut off my Mandarin diploma because I was distance learning, but I didn't care. Obviously, I was in China and I was speaking it. Yeah. So that diploma didn't really matter. I mean, you can have diploma in foreign language and never speak it. So
that's true.
Kind of didn't make sense. So that's how my China journey started, and I loved it so much. And eventually, 6 years later, I got my degree, which I honestly, like now if I think about it, at this point I would have dropped it.
What did you get your degree in?
So business, like it's my major called commerce.
Oh.
So international business.
I mean, yeah, that kind of applies. I mean, now that like artists are also their own salespeople.
Yeah.
You know?
So like I have that background that helps, of course. But
Yeah.
like if you ask me now, I probably wouldn't study this, you know.
Yeah.
And I would probably drop it and change it for something. But
Yeah.
when I was growing up, you know, it's a Russian sort of conventional family, you know, who are like, listen, if you don't know what to study, there was no option not to study yet. And just be like, hey, I'm gonna go travel for a couple of years.
Like a gap year, like that.
Figure out what I'm gonna do. It was like, just study something so you can have a diploma, and then you can figure out if you want to get a second degree.
Yeah.
So it was a rough, like I really hated it, especially when I had to go there every day, and it was just kind of like this fresa kids with fancy cars and like.
Fresa's bougie for those who don't speak Mexican Spanish.
So it was like a very interesting dynamic, and I was like, I never felt that I belonged there, and I was, you know, it was extremely difficult for me also. You know, this math, statistics, and like all of that I had no interest in it. You know, what I wanted to do is to build and to create, but it took me a while to realize it. So so the China chapter started, and I was like learning Mandarin, and everything was business related because I was kind of getting a degree in business, right? So that's how I started getting first job I was teaching English.
Oh my God, same.
But I could barely, but the funniest thing is I could barely speak it myself at the point, you know. So
like do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. And so I was just like, you know, like literally like fake it till you make it, but like fake it till you believe it into that like path of like. So I was working with children in like kindergartens and things like that. So and teaching them colors and animals. So I was
like, I have this level of English. I can do this.
And then it was really well paid, so I was kind of like enjoying my life, even though it was really exhausting. And I feel like, you know, everyone has their talent, and I don't think teaching, like working with kids, and I love kids, but day-to-day basis, and with the program like they had was really exhausting and kind of boring because it's the same thing, the same games, the same, you know. So I feel like if it would be a bit more advanced school, I might have enjoyed it more. But also at that point, I feel like I didn't really care. Yeah. You know, so I was like making money, I was becoming independent, I was living abroad, so everything I wanted to do was happening.
This is how I felt about teaching English in Spain. I was like, I'm where I want to be. I don't necessarily want to do this for the rest of my life, but it's good for now because I get to have this like cultural experience.
Yeah, I think when you're younger in your 20s, it's you're figuring this thing out, and as long as you can support yourself, you like walk this path and try different things until like something hits you. So I think my last job in China, so I started with teaching English to children, right? Then eventually I worked for IT company. So I just like literally was walking. So I finished the university while I was teaching and leaving to Russia for some time, passing all these exams. I was like graduating, and I was like, okay, I need to start working. So I started to look for a job, but it was so difficult somehow. And also when you don't have experience and they want you to have experience, you know what I mean? So it's like how it happens always. Yeah. And so I was walking, so I was kind of already getting desperate with like, this job search. And I was like, damn, like if I'm not going to get a job, you know, my parents are gonna be like, come back. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to go back.
Like, no, not to Siberia.
And then it's also a very funny thing. So one of my roommates at the time was this Chinese girl, and she was like an editor for some fashion magazine, and she got an invite for fashion TV, like all-inclusive party. Amazing. And so she got me a ticket, and we went together. And so she got really wasted. So I had to bring her home, but I was like all dressed up, like, you know, like looking for job. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go have a drink. And there was this place, I hope it still exists. It's called Zapatos.
Oh, love it.
In Shanghai.
Okay, great.
So Mexican place. I was already getting my way into Mexico back then. So I was like, it's a ladies' night. I'm gonna go have a margarita, you know, by myself in this dress. And as I'm arriving, my phone rings. So I start speaking to my mom. And there's these two guys who walk behind me, and they like starts repeating my word, and like, you know, my words in Russian. But like I can tell that they're not Russians, but they know some of it. You know? And I was just like curious. So I like spoke with my mom, and then they started talking to me. They're like, are you a Russian? I'm like, yeah, I'm Russian. They're like, we're from Slovenia, come have a drink with us. And I was like, sure. And they hired me. 6 months later, I worked for them for 3 years.
That's insane.
I opened their office, and they were IT guys, and it was one of the best jobs I've had. Actually,
look at that synchronicity. I love it.
Yeah, and I like, you know, I had such a relationships with them that I like. He would fly to to China and leave me his kids. I would like watch over, like stay with his kids who were like 10 years old at the time, while he goes to like some conference or something.
Oh my god!
He flew me to Hong Kong once to babysit, and so it was like a really like amazing relationship, and I learned a lot how to like approach, you know, like business negotiations and like selling the services, but also like opening an office. And hiring people. So like, and I was like 22 years old.
If you're zero experience, you're like hiring a whole office. You're like, sure, I can do this.
And so I was just saying yes. Like I was like this yes man of like Jim Carrey, you know, at the time. And so eventually I was kind of getting bored of this job, you know, like after 3 years, like I've done everything that I've learned everything.
You've grown as much as you could in the world.
They also sent me to Singapore to study some IT stuff, and which was also fun. You know? And I had a colleague from New Caledonia. So it was like very kind of exotic. The whole thing was like very unusual, interesting situation. So eventually there was this girl, a Russian girl also that I know, who was a friend of a friend. So she was working for Pernod Ricard at the time.
Okay.
And so she knew that I was going out a lot and I knew a lot of people. So she reached out to me and she was like, hey, like I'm leaving to Singapore. I'm quitting this job, but I think you will be an amazing fit for this job. So she literally landed me a job in Pernod Ricard. So the person who was hiring me, I feel like we didn't click. Actually, we didn't click until the end of it. It was a whole disaster working with this guy. So he didn't want to hire me. But then somebody flaked on him and he had no choice.
So like, universe is conspiring in my favor again.
Yeah, exactly. So we never really gotten along. He was a very, I guess still is, very complicated guy. And it's also a very different, you know, like culture of managing. And in Asian cultures, it's much more complicated until you reach like, you know, so you have to be very, what's the word, submissive, I guess?
It's like do all the grunt work.
And so he was treating me like that, and he would text me in the middle of the night asking me to come to the office. What? So it was a very like,
oh man,
it was very, I was crying for the first 3 months of my job there, but I would, you know, but now I would quit immediately. But at the time I was like, nobody knows my university in Russia. I've never worked to like, you know, like I need to like build my CV, so I need to stay in this multi-million, you know, like dollar company that is going to be super, little that I know, you know, that I would, who would care about my CV right now?
Right. I know.
And so, and as I was, right before I started to work for Pernod Ricard, I met my ex-husband, who we were kind of both getting done with, like we were done with China more or less, you know, and it was, I was there for 8 years at the time, and he was there for like 3 also, and we were just like, okay, where do we go? What do we do? You know, so there was like, you know, not an option for us to separate. We were just like, okay, we're doing this together. So what can we do? And he was working for this advertising agency, and they offered him to move from Shanghai to either to Paris or to New York. And I was like, 8 years in China, man, I'm not learning a new language. I'm not going to Paris.
I can't do it.
I'm not ready for French just yet, you know. And so so that's how we ended up moving to New York and getting married, because also that's, you know, when you're from different countries, when I moved to the US, so we're like, okay, that makes a lot of sense for us to get married, because now we are, you know, we're doing this together. You know? So so that was like how I ended up in the US, but also pre-story to that as well. In Shanghai, one of my best friends, who is half Mexican, half French, half Greek. Okay. She was dating a Mexican guy. So I was with Mexicans all the time.
Oh, I love it.
We're eating quesadillas, playing Uno, you know. And I remember them telling me stories when I was like probably like 21 or 20. How they have this thing in Mexico, and you go and eat cactus, and then you vomit in the desert. You know?
Oh my god.
And I was listening to them, and I was just like 21 years old, and I was like, why would you do this to yourself? Like, why would you go to the desert? And look at me, 15 years later, I'm in that desert. So things were like manifesting. Like Mexico was showing up a lot through those years while I was outside, to like calling me, and I, you know, ignored it for a long time. And so we moved to New York, and then I was working in real estate. That also like an opportunity, friend of a friend had his office, and then he like ended up hiring me, and that also gave me a lot of freedom. So I like studied real estate, got my license, which was really interesting to understand, you know, like such a complex.
Yeah.
Of course, it varies state to state, but it was very fascinating to see. So I worked in that for a bit, and that kind of that spiked my more like, you know, this, how do you call this, like independent contractor work.
Yeah.
And so I think I was like maybe 27 or 28, and I was just like, there was one day to another, you know, I started to have this crisis. I was like, what am I doing with my life? You know, like I just, you know, things don't really make much sense, and I couldn't figure out why I was feeling that way. And I came to this like party in Bushwick. I remember it was like this house party, and like there was people from, you know, all over the world. Like I had a friend from Hong Kong who was there, and I had this new Greek friend, a new Argentinian friend, and everybody was kind of in this creative field. And one of the girls was like, but by the way, but what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm selling things, you know, like I sold alcohol, now I'm selling real estate. And she looked at me and she was like, why? And I was like, like for real, why?
Yeah,
why am I
like a mirror up in your
like what am I doing with my life? You know, like am I just like am I going to live like that for the rest of my life? So that's when the questioning started slowly. Yeah. And then I think it was, I don't remember the year when it was, but it was La La Land just came out.
Oh yeah.
So I went with a friend of mine to watch La La Land, and in the middle of the movie, I just burst into crying. Oh. And my friend was like, "Are you okay? What happened?" So I wasn't crying because like something was happening in the movie. I was crying for myself.
You're like, I'm having an existential crisis.
Exactly. Because I was like, look at them. They're like so in love, and they're like pursuing their careers, and they're separating because of their careers. Yeah. What the hell am I doing with my life? Like, you know, I have no purpose. You know, like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And so that was like a second step. So it was building up all of that. And so I ended up starting like this search of being like, okay, I'm gonna start trying. I know there is something creative out there for me. Yeah. But I didn't know what it was, because I studied music when I was a kid, and I kind of dropped it. I also studied art a bit when I was a kid, but I also dropped it. So I was very like indecisive. Yeah. And, you know, dropping everything I could. Every 2 weeks, you know, new course. My poor mom was taking me from basketball to dance class.
Oh my God.
And so when I started this search, it was this platform. I think it exists, still exists. It's called Course Horse. Okay. So Course Horse was offering this short, you know, so it's like you don't need to sign up for a full 3 months program. Yeah. You can just try one little thing.
You're like, but I can commit to that.
Yeah, for $50. So that's how I started. So first I did a jewelry class. Okay. Which I I enjoyed it, but I was like, no, this is not what I'm going to do every day of my life. Yeah. And then I went to, so it was a Project Runway, so Mood Fabrics in Chelsea was offering a free sewing classes.
Oh, I love that.
So I started to take sewing classes, and I bought a sewing machine.
Oh my God, yes.
And I did one t-shirt, and I never touched. I've never touched the sewing machine again in my life. And so I was like, okay, you know, fashion design is definitely not one of them.
Oh my God.
And then my ex-husband gifted me for my birthday this like big box. And inside of that box was like oil paint, acrylic paint, like aquarella, like watercolors, different brushes, different canvases of like, I don't know, 20 by 10 centimeters. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I have this now. I'm just going to, you know, play with it. Yeah. So I started painting some series of something. And then a friend of mine, the same friend I was crying with in La La Land, she came to my house and she's like, did you paint this? And I was like, yeah. She's like, why don't you do something with it? And I was like, well, what can I do? Yeah. You know, so for me, this concept did not exist, and this could be solved. Yeah, yeah. And she's like, well, you can take pictures and upload it on like Etsy. I think Etsy just like opened up maybe a year before that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe she has a point. Like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
So I create my store, I upload these paintings, and then
I have an Etsy store too.
And then and then a week later, I receive an email. We're at this company. We're doing we're showing some art in April in Brooklyn. We would like you to be part of it.
What?
I was like, what? Like, I'm not an artist. I'm not selling anything, you know.
Oh my God, I love it.
So I was like, okay, well, I just doubled down on painting. Yeah. And I had maybe 20 small paintings at the time. So I like sold most of them for $50.
I love it.
Imagine the inflation from
right?
the first artwork I sold to today.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's how my artistic journey started, and I was like,
thank you, Etsy.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks to these guys, and thanks to my friend who like guided me through to just upload these pictures. And so it was really funny how like it's all started, and so also the same. So I was changing, right? Like I was discovering who I am and what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And with that, my relationship was crumbling too.
Yeah.
So there comes the divorce and my crisis being like, I need to study art. So I applied before we even separated. So I applied for Pratt. Went really ambitiously.
Oh my God.
I applied
for my high school boyfriend.
So I applied for Pratt and for for New School.
Oh yeah.
Just randomly like this. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna submit my drawings, and then I get a response from Pratt, and they offered me like a $10,000 scholarship.
What?
And I was like, what? And so my relationship is crumbling. My ex is like, are you crazy? How are you gonna study? You're doing so well. You don't need.
You're like $10,000, bitch. This is how.
So and then when he was, so everybody who I said told this story at the time were like, oh my God, this is like one of the top schools.
Yeah.
Like you got it, congratulations. And my closest person, my partner, was like, are you crazy? What is this? And I was like, who am I married to exactly?
Yeah.
So
like, how are you not supporting me in my growth? I thought that's what a partnership was supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So we eventually split up, of course. And so I was on the wife's visa. So I was losing my visa, exactly. And so I got zero help, of course.
You're like, Pratt, I will also need a student visa in addition to this $10,000.
But that's like from the Pratt to like, to actually me starting the school was like a year passed by. So I like rejected Pratt because I was like, okay, with the scholarship, I still need to pay like $40,000 or $50,000. And I was like, now that I'm, becoming single, maybe not a good idea. And so I didn't know that I was becoming single, but I didn't have the support from the partner, so that was kind of scary. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should, like I did this ambitious move to like applying for top schools. So I don't really need to pay this much to become an artist. Yeah. Like I can go to any other school.
And the fact that they did offer you the scholarship was already kind of confirming in the sense that, okay, I got a scholarship from one of the top schools. That's great. Yeah. Maybe I can't afford it, but that at least like gives you that reinforcement you need to keep going.
Exactly. And so the divorce happens in like the summer of, I don't remember, 2017, I think. And I was like, okay, damn, like I'm going to lose my visa. I'm losing my visa. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? Russia, not an option. China, not an option. Here the US might also not be an option. So I was like, I'm going to just take it easy. I'm going to apply for art school. So but in the meantime, I took a bunch of courses.
On CourseSource?
that was already like New York Art Students League and like all of this, like, a bit more advanced style for 3 months, 4 months, type of. So I could kind of figure out what I can do and what I want to do and if that's really what I want to do. And I met like different professors and different people, and they were like, listen, there's a Hunter College, there is FIT that is much more affordable. You should try it, and they have a really good fine arts department. So I applied for FIT and for something else, I don't remember, for Hunter also. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, let myself recover from this divorce, and the winter was coming. So I applied, and then I was thinking, what am I gonna do? Like, I want to go travel, but I was kind of a bit afraid of going to. So my idea was going to South America, but everybody was like, "Are you crazy? How are you gonna go by yourself? It's not safe." And I was like, so I was a bit So I was a bit doubtful about it. And at the time, so my route in my mind was to go from Lima to Argentina by land. So like I land in Lima, and then I start the buses, and I go slowly make my way to Argentina, and I find a plan B in case I don't get into art school. Yeah. So, and I was like, with this looking at this ticket, and everybody's like, you're crazy, like what, Bolivia, and then I go to see a friend, and we have a drink in Brooklyn somewhere, and then on the way back, I think it does not exist anymore. It was an Uber pool back then. So I ordered.
I think it still exists.
Yeah, I ordered.
I've definitely taken it before.
I ordered an
It's like
Uber.
the shuttle now.
Yeah, exactly. So I ordered an Uber bowl. And then I sit down and there's this guy in front and he says, "Do you speak Spanish?" And it was like the most random thing anyone ever asked me, because I don't think I look like a Spanish speaker. And I was like, "No."
She does not.
And I was like, and that was...
We'll confirm.
Yeah, I was just like, it was funny to me. Like the first time nobody ever asked me if I was a Spanish speaker.
Yeah.
And with this, my thought about South America, right? So I'm like, no.
You were just exuding it, your energy.
I was like, no, why? Do you? And he's like, yeah. My mom is from Bolivia. And I was like,
what?
Ding.
You're like, okay, universe, I see you.
So I literally left that ride, came back to my house, opened my laptop with the ticket pending, and booked the ticket.
Damn. Did you tell him?
No, I've never stayed in touch with him.
That's crazy.
Like,
you should have been like, you know what, sir, because of you.
Yes, I wish like I had stayed in touch with this guy. You know, so it was just really random like events, you know, like points of my life. And so I ended up.
But I also love that you listened to it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, that would have happened to them, and they would have been like, oh, what a coincidence, and then like not book the ticket. Yeah. But I love that you were like, no, this is a clear sign. I'm going to listen to it, and you did it.
Yeah, and so that's like, I started my journey, right? 2017, well, winter 2018 already. So I'm like, you know, traveling with all these buses through Peru, different places. That was incredible. But I've never really seen myself like living in Peru, for example. Like, you know, it was beautiful, but I wouldn't see myself living in Lima, for example, even though it's a beautiful city. And it's very creative and colorful, and food is incredible. But you know, you have that like, you know, that inner feeling. Yeah, you know when you know. Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've been like, I fell in love with Shanghai from the first sight. Like I know the feeling exactly.
That was like me with Boston and Madrid.
Yeah.
And then here.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay, no, Peru is not. Then you move to Bolivia. Incredibly beautiful, probably one of the most beautiful, you know, places that I've been to as well. And like, but no, like the bunch of the cities I've been to are incredible, but I wouldn't see myself living there. So my first, and I guess also that's kind of brings me to the point when I'm like, you know, even though I'm coming from a small city, considerably like in Russia, but I am, you know, I lived in Shanghai and a bit in Beijing in between, and then, you know, New York, all big cities.
Big cities,
And so the next place I got to was, through San Pedro de Atacama, which was incredible in Chile. Eventually I got to Santiago.
I was like,
San, like, I'm like San Jose.
You're like, it's a sun.
It's a sun. So, and I was like, wow, the city is incredible. So I was kind of like, you know, in that point when I was like, okay, could do Chile, probably. Tal vez. The Spanish community is just like, maybe Chile could be an option. And then, you know, I visited Chile with, and then once I arrived by bus to Buenos Aires, I was like, no, hell no. Buenos Aires, it's the place. That's where I want to go. So I spent months in between Cordoba and Buenos Aires, and then I came back to New York with an idea that, okay, if I get to art school, I'm gonna stay in New York longer, and if I don't, my visa expires in August, and I'm gonna pack my stuff, and I'm gonna move to Argentina. So, in between of all of this, right? So that's like, let's say February or something like that, 2018. A friend of mine who is Mexican, who I also know from Shanghai, invites me to her wedding to San Miguel de Allende in March of 2018. Or 2019, 2018. I'm like, all the years have mixed up. So she invites me to a wedding, and I've been to Mexico City before, really briefly, and I've been to Tulum before, like a New Yorker, you know, tourist kind of. So I've never really had that connection to Mexico at that point. Yeah, it was beautiful, but it wasn't like, it was a vacation for me. Yeah. So then I come to San Miguel de Allende for this wedding. I take my roommate with me as my plus one. He was like, I want to go to Mexico with you. And I was like, okay, fine, let me ask for plus one. So he flew in first, got a car, picked me up at the airport. We are so crazy. We drove at night to San Miguel de Allende, got there at 2 a.m. We also didn't have any cash. So we were paying tolls with US dollars.
Oh my God.
You know, like,
you didn't get stopped and asked for a mordida.
Yeah, like silly gringos, like really, like, and we couldn't really get out into like closest town to get, you know, to get some cash. But anyway,
Mordida is the bride, by the way.
So eventually we got to San Miguel de Allende. The wedding was incredible. And then on the way back, I stayed in Mexico City with a friend of mine who used to be my neighbor in Brooklyn. And he was here already for like 6 months. And I stayed at his house, and he took me to beautiful places to eat, and I met his friends. We went out. And I was on the way back to New York thinking, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? I need to live in Mexico City. And so be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So this is like March, right? So I come back to New York. I finish second semester of FIT. And then in July, I go to Russia to visit my family. So when you are on a student visa, they give you, so you technically, if you don't leave the country, you can stay for as long as you want, and your visa is...
It's like Spain too.
Yeah, so your sticker is for 1 year. So if you leave, you need to change the sticker.
Yeah.
But if you stay, you don't need to do anything, you just stay. So I was like, okay, it's time to visit my family. And I'm just gonna go, and then I'm gonna make an appointment in Moscow in the American embassy and change my sticker and come back in August for my third semester in September. So I come to Russia and I visit my family, and then I go to change my sticker, and I come into the embassy, and I see people in front of me, all the girls getting denied. Then I see that this guy in front of me comes in, he gets the visa, everything is good. So I'm like, I shouldn't have any problems. So I come to the window, boom, denied. And I'm like, wait, what? So I'm like telling them all my invitation letters, like when I'm full-time or student, nothing works. Nothing. And I was just like, can I reschedule another one?
Yeah.
So I like schedule another appointment. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a second chance, because this is, maybe somebody's just like making a mistake there, and it's like, like you can see my scores from the university that I'm like full-time and I'm doing well, and so I come for a second time, boom, denied.
And they didn't give you any reason?
No, that you're not qualified. And I'm like, are you kidding me? My ego has inflated there in 1 second. Like, what are you talking about? I speak Mandarin. Like it was like such a, my like. And so I'm just like, okay, well, there's nothing. Like I'm completely powerless. It's the moment when you just like you have to let the control go. Like there is nothing you can do. Yeah. This is it. You know. And luckily, I was staying at a friend's house there, and I had this like a couple days to process. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do? Well, you wanted to go to Mexico. There you go. Here's your chance. So I booked the Turkish Airlines to Istanbul. Stayed. I have a friend there, so I stayed with him for a couple days to just kind of unwind a little, and just have a different vibe. Yeah. And took my flight to Mexico City, and here I am 7 years later.
That's crazy. So what happened with the art school? Were you just like, hey guys, I can't come back?
So actually something really beautiful happened also with that. So I think because of my Latin American trip, I when I came back to the US, I was like, I felt like I was the only person who doesn't speak Spanish. I was like, I need to speak Spanish ASAP. Yeah. And so while I was in the art school, I enrolled, there was, I could take Spanish for free. And I had this incredible professor who I still hope she really was a life-changing, one of those like teachers that changes your life. Yeah. I hope she's teaching there. Somebody has a chance to take her classes. So she is half Puerto Rican, half Spanish. Okay. She was 70 at the time, cracking up like Tinder jokes and like, standing for 3 hours of the entire class. And I was like, damn, I want to be you at that age, like super exciting life, super like full of energy. So what turned out that she has a house in Mexico. And so once my visa got denied, I wrote her an email. I was like, for the first time, so I was like, hey, do you think you can write me a letter? Help me to like maybe that will change your mind or something. She's like, of course. So she helped me with a letter. She sent me the letter. I came with that letter. So I got denied anyway. And then she said, listen, I have a house not far from Guadalajara. So I'm going to leave my keys with someone so you can go stay as much as you want.
Oh my God, what an angel.
I know, right? So that was like my welcome to Mexico. Wow. And so I stayed at her house by Lake Chapala for months.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then, I kept meeting people who were offering me their homes, and
that still happens to her to this day, by the way. I don't know what she gives off, but everybody's like, do you want to stay in this beautiful house for free? And I'm like, what the fuck?
it actually does still happen. I feel like this is like one of my superpowers. Like, I don't know, like I really love
People
it.
are just like, you should stay in my beautiful house for free. And you're like, okay, cool.
And so yeah, so I think I received such a warm welcome to Mexico that I was just like, I knew I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And then I started to reflect on all of the Mexico that was around me all these years, you know, like also I had a Mexican friend I know from Shanghai who, when I moved to New York and I came first, my ex came like much later. He was in Berlin. He offered me his apartment in like Hell's Kitchen, you know, and he was Mexican too. So there was always this Mexican support somewhere.
Yeah.
So till today I find fascinating.
Yeah, and I feel like when you do have that warm reception when you arrive in a new place, it makes all the difference. Because like you said, not the first time, but the first time you really like experienced Mexico City, you had a friend that like introduced you to his social circle and took you around to all these amazing places, which is exactly what happened to me when I finished remote year. It's like my friend was already here on the ground. He already had this beautiful community. He shared all these beautiful places with me, and I was like, damn, like what an incredible experience, and that really like makes you want to stay.
Yeah, because people, that's what make your experience. And I feel like I feel this warm embrace by Mexico since day one.
Yeah.
And things were just, you know.
Un apapacho.
Yes, definitely. This is one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love this word so much. So
it's
yes.
from Nahuatl, the indigenous language of Mexico.
and so yeah, so it's been, you know, and I feel so grateful for finding my home, and that's been so many years now. And you know, hopefully next year I'm gonna be Russian-Mexican artist.
Are you applying for your citizenship?
Oh, next year.
Oh wow! Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so exciting. People keep asking me now that I have my permanent residency if I'm gonna go for my citizenship, and I'm like, maybe I should, because I feel like having a second passport, especially being a U.S. citizen now, would be a good idea.
Yeah, well, same with Russian, you know.
Yeah, true. It's like it doesn't hurt. I'm like, maybe I should do that.
But yeah, so I think I just keep thinking about this, you know, like I was talking to a friend this morning and I said, you know, if I die tomorrow, I have no regrets.
Yep.
Like I've tried everything I could.
Yep.
I did everything I could, and like, you know, if it's time to go, I'm gonna go with no regrets.
Yeah. That's always my barometer. Like I ask myself that question on a regular basis, and I felt that way, I think since my 20s, because I always like, you know, I want to move to Madrid, and I moved to fucking Madrid, and I did the thing, and then I was like, okay, where do I go from here? And I remember asking my mom that question, I don't remember how many years ago, and she's like, no, I wouldn't be fulfilled. And I'm like, girl, that means we need to make changes.
Yeah, no, it's just, so my mom always says also, so my mom is a psychotherapist, so my mom always says that, you know, if you have an idea, you have to realize it, because if not, you're blocking your own energy. So I'm trying, from the moment she told me this, I'm always trying to follow that rule. You know, like if I thought about, I don't know, texting this guy and I keep thinking about it, I'm like, no, I need to do that. Yeah. Like whatever's going to happen after. Or like if I want to take this course and watch this movie or read this book, like I have to do it. And I have to do it the fastest moment possible. Especially if it keeps showing up. Because if it's like a passing thing and then it's like, okay, you forget about it, that's one thing. But if it keeps coming up, you're like, okay, no. That's like my intuition reminding me I have to do this fucking thing. Yeah, and there's so many different ways that block the energy, right? So it's like, it could be, you can, you know, have a grudge over something and then block this energy this way. And then so I'm like learning to also have those channels open. I love that. You know, because with the grudges, you feel like, I know this, like I'm never going back to this Pilates studio because the teacher said that, you know? And then you just like realize that there is one studio and there's this one coffee shop that didn't let you use their bathroom, and there is this, and that accumulates into this like amount of energy that you're blocking for yourself. So this is the new thing I'm learning. I was listening to this podcast about kindness earlier. And I was like, this is, I think, what we're missing these days. Yeah. That this human connection, and also being kind towards one another. So yeah. That's beautiful. So do you have some practices that you use to make sure your energy does not get blocked? I meditate a lot. Lately, not as much as I would have liked to. When I went to Vipassana, I was so they were like, you should better meditate 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour at night. And I thought realistically 2 hours of my day meditating in this type of rhythm that I live are impossible. So I started with 30 minutes morning, 30 minutes night, still an hour. But wasn't sustainable as well.
Yeah, that's hard.
So I have like this random rhythms now, but I'm trying to start my day with meditation, to just have like focus and just be present in my life. And additionally, of course, I think there's so many ways of maintaining your, so it's, you have your mind, right? So there's a physical health, mind health, right? So the therapy, the meditation, spirituality, all of this kind of brings you, so there's a lot of layers of having what's the word, I guess, well, not wellness, but just to maintain, right? Like the maintenance of a healthy mind and a healthy body, there's so many things. It's not just, you know, like we used to think that, okay, if you run and drink a green juice, you're going to be fine. But there is so much more to this. You can exercise all you want, but if you don't do like even with therapy, right? So there is a therapy that is more mind oriented, and there is a therapy that works with your body. So if you just do work with your mind, your body's going to be behind. If you're going to work with your body's going to be,
your mind's going to be behind.
So your mind's going to be behind. Exactly. So I feel like I'm learning to balance all of this in between. So doing meditations, detoxes, you know, different spiritual practices, plant medicines, everything that brings me to my center.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And when do you feel, like, is there a specific sensation that you have when you find your center? Like, what does that feel like for you in your body, in your mind, in your spirit?
It feels like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Who am I supposed to be? Sorry, I'm like having difficulties speaking.
Too many languages.
So like, you know, and I just feel present, and I don't, you know, there is no dependency on anything. It doesn't matter what weather it is, and you know, I'm here and I'm enjoying, and I'm, you know, I think the gratitude, that's like one of my biggest indications. When I wake up and I feel grateful, you know, for little things, you know, for that, for my house that I love, that I can create, that my body is healthy, that I can paint, I can see, I can hear, read, eat delicious food, see a friend, hug a friend, you know, and that's priceless.
And do you see a difference when you create from that space versus creating from like a different energy that might not be as centered?
I feel like I don't necessarily can create from a different energy.
Okay, so you have to be in that.
Yeah, so I feel like in order to produce art, or like, you know, the creativity or products or whatever, you have to be centered, you know, and if you don't, the inspiration is not gonna come. So I feel like it's also sort of this like channel that comes, universal channel, that you're like, you know, I'm painting something and then these names are coming up and I have no idea where they're coming from. I didn't think about it. So I have like a painting that is called, actually it's been sold not so long ago. It's called Are Those Dancing Shoes Necessary? So it's like, I don't know where it came from. Like, I have not really thought about it, but that's what it is, and it's gonna stay there. So I feel like this is like this interesting channel that happens with the production of especially painting.
Yeah. Well, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on today. Where can people find you online if they want to see your work or they want to purchase or learn more about you?
I think I'm the most active, the easiest way to find me is Instagram.
Okay.
So it's Anastasia Shi _art. So
we'll link to that in the show notes.
And so really grateful always for the support, comments, likes, interactions, because I'm trying to share as much as I can what I'm producing, my processes. So that's that.
And if people are in Mexico City, where can they find your artwork?
They can find my artwork. I'm in Mooney. Now I'm opening a showroom in my house.
Whee!
So it's my studio showroom where I can, you know, there is my art. There is the brand of sustainable brand that I own that has embroidery with my characters. And all the products I'm recently producing. So super welcome. Always have my little guided coffee tours in my studio house.
That's so cool.
And anything. I'm open also to collaborations. We recently have been collaborating with different brands. That also has always been on my list, and I'm finally starting. So like
Samsonite. Right?
Yeah, like my last Samsonite project was really, really fun and exciting, and we kind of redefined the purpose of the suitcase, especially when you're an immigrant. You know, that suitcase is not just where you store your clothes or your belongings, but it's also where you store your memories and emotions and things like that. So that's been a really fun project.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I enjoyed it a lot. And the next one I'm doing now is a football for the, you know, dedicated to World Cup is happening in June, so
oh my God, amazing.
I'm about to start working on that.
Oh, yay! That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you everyone for listening. We will see you on the next one. Ciao!